India. A vast country, home to over 1 billion people, birthplace of illustrious ancient civilizations, and today a fast emerging global power. And 70 years after independence, India is still a diverse, ever-evolving assortment of cultures, creeds, religions and languages. Heading off the well-worn tourist path, we're on a journey that spans this vast subcontinent from east to west. Travelling from one of the driest places on Earth.
It is quite incredible, the sand. I mean, it's just crystals, hard crystals. White salt. I'll probably taste it.
To one of the wettest. These are areas really for the adventurous traveller. This isn't India on tap. I'm on a quest to find out how history, religion and politics have shaped India. And also meet the people who call this intriguing and sometimes overwhelming country home. It's going to be an amazing journey. For thousands of years, India found its riches and influence through international trade. And at the heart of this enterprise was the sea. And the state of Gujarat, with 1,000 miles of coastline, served as a shipping gateway to Africa, Arabia and beyond.
This is as far west as you can get in India, and it's the mingling of all the influences from overseas that have helped make Gujarat what it is today.
The region is known as Kutch, and its beaches, like here in Mandvi, are a popular domestic tourist attraction. But this ancient port town's economy is still anchored in a much older maritime tradition.
This is genuinely incredible. I'm in heaven. A huge shipyard with boats and ships at various stages of construction, all made from wood.
In an industry dominated by bulky and expensive container ships, these smaller, more agile vessels are still in huge demand.
So here we are really close up to these incredible hulks, really. And this one's in mid-construction. We can actually go inside, which I'm going to go and see how they actually make these things. Apparently each of these dhows takes about 2.5 years to make.
For many of the workers, shipbuilding is a family tradition. And this ancient craft is now attracting unexpected new admirers.
India na પણ ઘણા આવે છે અને બહારના પણ આવે છે ફોરેન કન્ટ્રીના પણ એટલે લગભગ રોજના 2-4 ગ્રુપ તો અહીંયા આવે જ જોવા સારું બધા અંદર આવીને આ બધું કારીગરી જોઈને બધું બધાને અચંભો થાય કે આ કેવી રીતે લાકડાનું બનાવે છે ને આ જેના આજુબાજુમાં દરિયો છે એ લોકોનો તો મચ્છીનો હાથે ધંધો હોય તે એ લોકોને આઈડિયા હોય જ્યાં કને દરિયો નથી આ લોકોને માટે આવું બધું આ એક અલગ થઈ જાય છે.
The region of Kutch was home to one of the world's earliest civilizations and can be traced back to prehistoric times. Its old royal capital is the city of Bhuj.
And its glory days, well, they're kind of over. It was badly hit by the 2001 earthquake. It's a kind of melancholy, I suppose, about this area, because obviously this was once the real opulent centre of a rich empire, trading empire anyway, and the hub was here.
But what is still flourishing is Bhuj's 450-year-old market, just a few minutes away, where the trading tradition continues.
And what do they sell here?
They sell everything: fruit, vegetables, fabric, grocery. You see all sort of community, all cultural background can be seen in one part as the marketplace. So here, as you can see, there are like all different community, ethnic groups comes here.
But Kutch's natural harmony was disrupted 70 years ago when the British left. The country was divided on religious grounds, with Muslims partitioned to the north in Pakistan and Hindus to the south in India. We drove out of the city towards the border with Pakistan. Along the way, encountering some Kutch herdsmen.
They've been living here for 400-500 years since they migrated down south into Kutch from Sindh, which is now part of Pakistan.
Ever since the split, there's been tension between the two governments, but to these herdsmen, national borders and religious differences mean little.
For the people of Kutch, when we say India, Pakistan, or like Hindu, Muslim, it's really not that important. People are religious, of course, but they are like living in a harmony, and the relationship between these two different groups is brotherly.
When two countries were created from one, indelible scars were left on the psyche of the subcontinent.
Independence has not yet brought them peace. Rejoicing turned quickly into horror and mourning.
In traumatic scenes, more than 1 million people died in religious rioting, and many millions more were displaced.
This all used to be one, but now it's like divided in two.
And now the border itself has become a tourist attraction. That way is Pakistan.
That way is Pakistan, about 70 kilometers up north. That's where India-Pakistan border is, which lies in the middle of the Run of Kutch, which is a geographical barrier.
At nearly 500 meters above sea level, the highest point, Kalodonga Hill, allows us a dramatic view of this geological phenomenon, the Rann, or desert of Kutch, which continues into Pakistan. I wanted to get up closer to this natural wonder.
It is quite incredible, the sand. I mean, it's just crystals, hard crystals. White salt. I'll probably taste it. Really unusual to see something like this. The further out I walked, the less lovely it became. It's actually quite incredible. It's more like snow or sludge than white sand or white crystals. When it gets wet around here, I'm getting really deep into it. Whoa!
Today, this shimmering wilderness is a healthy source of income for the region, thanks mainly to a 3-month-long festival throughout the winter.
It is amazing what was a vast barren landscape has been transformed into this colourful complex where by night there's live music and other performances, and by day there's plenty of other activities. And just here is what you might call the glamping quarters. 50,000 people have come here in the last couple of months alone. This is like a cross between a weekend festival and a holiday resort, and it's basically a honeypot for the booming middle classes of India in what has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world. The revival of interest in Kutch culture, boosted by the festival, has been a lifeline for one group of locals in particular, folk musicians.
Now music in particular, and it's very, very rich over here. Previously they used to perform with their kettles, their shepherds. Then afterwards when they come home, They'd get together and the spiritual songs are being performed. It's a day-to-day practice.
One person plays two flutes at the same time.
Yes. Now, for example, 500 kettles are there and only one shepherd is there. So what he'll do is, he'll sit below a tree, start playing this, and till whatever reach these musical notes are there, the kettles will not go out of that range.
Wow.
And they enjoy the music, so their digestive system, their milk output increases. So this is the beauty of it.
It's almost like meditation for the cattle.
Things are changing definitely. As you say, tourism, so many music festivals are there, so they are invited in various parts of India and abroad. And of course, they are very well paid.
And not only do I get a demonstration, but also the privilege of playing along as lead tinkler. And yet again, I'm made aware that Kutch culture is all about a sense of community and certainly not about religious segregation.
From the bottom of my heart, I am telling you, till today, in spiritual, in music forms, Hindus and Muslims, they sit together and perform till today.
For the next part of my journey, I'm heading to the southeast of Gujarat, to the town of Junagadh.
Ah, the classic Indian railway station. To me, nothing sums up this country better than the Indian railway network. More than any political act, they say that this is what unifies this country. I remember as a small child being on an Indian train and being totally overwhelmed by it, but I love it. Ah, this feels imminent. Who knows when this was made, this train? It looks pretty damn old to me. But wow, look at that.
It's a network that ferries millions of passengers daily across tens of thousands of track to nearly 7,000 stations. It's one of the world's biggest employers.
If there's one defining legacy of British rule, it's the vast, sprawling, creaking Indian railway network. It's still the lifeblood of the country today. Now, I'll tell you this, you wouldn't get this on a suburban train on a cold Wednesday morning in London or any other Western city. This is unique. You know everyone on this carriage?
Yeah.
Yeah? From the train journey?
Train journey,
Ah,
yeah.
so you have like
Train friends.
You have train friends,
Friends,
excellent. You have a community. Yeah, very good. And is it lucky to have a seat on the train? You're very lucky.
She's
very lucky. She's very lucky, okay.
ટ્રેનમાં એક એવું બી થાય કે તમને બહુ બધા અલગ અલગ લોકો જોવા મળે કે જે તમારી જોડે હોય એ લોકોના કેવું એ નેચર ધરાવે છે તમે એ લોકોની કમ્પેરિઝન કરે તમને બહુ બધું નવું નવું જાણવા મળે ટ્રેનમાં જાઓ તો તમે
Like you, એમ કે તમારી જેમ.
હા લાઈક યુ
Like me, yeah, quite, yeah. So here we are, the ancient fortified city of Junagadh. Crowded and noisy, as I expected. Let's go explore.
Just a few minutes from the station, along a dusty, busy road, stands this jaw-dropping and little-known architectural wonder. Built in the late 19th century, the Mahabad Maqbara is an elaborate mausoleum, blending Indian, Islamic, Gothic and European architecture. The intricate carvings took over a decade to complete, and the whole structure reflects the opulence and influences of the time.
Back in the day, under the British Raj, there were hundreds of so-called princely states run by Maharajas and Nawabs, powerful and wealthy men. There was one such character here, a Nawab who made a decision that still has ramifications for relations between India and Pakistan even today.
These Nawabs led lavish lifestyles, in stark contrast to ordinary Indians. The Nawab of Junagadh, the Mahabat Khan III, was no different.
Janada State celebrates the marriage of the eldest son of the Nawab with all the pomp and splendour of a princely wedding.
One man would be sitting on the mudguard.
Harish Desai was 10 in 1946 and recalls the splendour of the ceremony.
Escorted by the royal guard, the bridegroom drives in state through the streets. Before him in the procession goes a costly profusion of wedding gifts.
All princes were there, attired in a princely pattern with turbans of a peculiar type on their head. Dance girls used to be brought there, musicians and all that. That lasted for several days.
And he recalls getting his first taste of this other world.
For the first time I saw bread, butter, sandwich, everything, because that was not known to us here. My father said, you eat this is bread and this is butter, and I liked it, and there were small pastries. I still remember that made in England, London, there was one Huntley and Palmer biscuit. Important thing is that the formal photograph of His Highness Mahabat Khan III.
The Nawab's own most legendary indulgence was his love of animals.
His main hobby was for dogs. He was mad after dogs. I think almost all brands, varieties and breeds of dogs from all over the world were here. He used to arrange marriages for dogs and celebrated parties, and then they are sent for honeymoon. All those things.
Sent for honeymoon.
He used to do it.
But with the advent of independence, the power and influence of India's royal rulers was coming to an end. Come partition, the Muslim Nawab wanted to make Junagadh part of the newly created Islamic Pakistan. Even though the town is more than 80% Hindu and hundreds of kilometres from the border. Infuriated, the new Indian government rallied its troops.
The news started coming that army is coming. In its compound, huge tanks and trucks and jeeps and artillery and guns and everything is there. Junagadh state was besieged by other sides, 3 sides also.
An economic blockade was ordered, cutting off supplies of food and resources into the region. Eventually, Junagadh acceded to India, and the Nawab fled to Pakistan. Yet to this day, 70 years on, his great-grandson still lays claim to Junagadh. And the episode lingers as a reminder of the last days of the Raj in India.
And 65 kilometres down the road in the Gir Sanctuary, the Nawab's legacy as an animal lover extraordinaire continues, with the most regal of creatures. Now, lions may have iconic status here. They're a royal symbol, they're in Hindu mythology, but at the beginning of the last century, they were threatened with extinction. I'm going somewhere now, which is the only natural abode of the Asiatic lion.
The Nawab preserved vast tracts of this forest to provide lions with a stable habitat and banned hunting. The Asiatic lions are smaller and paler than their African relatives. And these are their modern-day protectors, India's first female forest rangers, the so-called Lion Queens of Gir. Now they're part of a team that performs more animal rescues than any other wildlife park in the world. On average, the unarmed rangers cover 25 kilometres a day and have to tackle venomous snakes, leopards and poachers, as well as lions.
If they did get agitated, how would you be able to tell from the animal? How would you know if you're safe or not with being this close to the animal?
એની પૂંછડી હલાવે અથવા એના મૂવમેન્ટ ઉપરથી ખબર પડી જાય કે હવે આને એટલા દૂરથી જ એની સાથે ઊભું રહે, બાકી એને નજીક જવું આપણા માટે ખતરનાક છે. અને જે હમણાં જે આ હરણનો જે કોલ થઈ છે એના ઉપરથી પણ ખબર પડી જાય કે એટલામાં નજીકમાં જનાવર છે.
And it did get dangerous for Jayashree early on in her career here.
એટલે જસ્ટ અમારી શરૂઆત હતી જોબની, એટલે ત્યારે અમને એટલો સિંહનો અનુભવ પણ ન હતો. એટલે જ્યારે અમે ત્યાં ગયા એટલે એકદમ સિંહ અમારી ઉપર દોડ્યો એટલે અમને લોકોને એવું થયું બસ પૂરું, આજે તો ગયા જ. પણ અમે જે ત્યાંને ત્યાં ઊભા રહ્યા એટલે એ ત્યાંથી પાછો વળીને જતો રહ્યો. તેમણે અમારા ઉપર એટેક નથી કર્યો, પણ ત્યાંથી ખાલી અમને ડારો આપ્યો. અમને ખબર નહોતી કે હવે એ સિંહ ત્યાં છે.
Applications from women for these posts have rocketed, and the rangers are role models and trailblazers in the region today. Oh, look at that mouth. The good news is that from once being in danger of extinction, numbers have climbed to over 500. The next much more welcome problem is if the sanctuary is actually big enough for their growing population.
So, the first part of my travels across India come to a close. But next week, I head to the northeast of the country.
I'm on the banks of the mighty river Brahmaputra and about to go to a very spiritual place. And the amount of people crammed on here as well, it's going to be an experience.
A region that prides itself on tradition and creativity, and a passionate desire to protect this unique part of the world for future generations.